Star Wars 7x7, episode 2385. Following up on the episode I did yesterday about Lucasfilm Games and how that's going to be the new brand umbrella for things going forward, a couple of things came up in regard to games that aren't exactly canon, and so I wanted to address that interesting fact. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So, in discussing the titles which were featured in the sizzle reel for Lucasfilm Games, one of the games that jumped out was the Jedi Academy game, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday about the fact that it was originally released in 2003 and that it's been kicking around for a while. It was ported over to Steam, and just about a year and change ago, there was an announcement that it would be ported for PlayStation 4 and also for the Nintendo Switch. So fascinating that this game, which was definitely initially created outside of the current canon space, is still being promoted as an active game within the Star Wars gaming universe. So I got to thinking about that a little bit and wondering about how Lucasfilm Games is going to be going forward with their promotions of games, their development of games, and how it's going to affect Star Wars storytelling, because ultimately that's one of the primary things with which we're concerned here at Star Wars 7x7. Concerned maybe being the wrong word. Interested in, perhaps, is a little bit better, is Star Wars storytelling and how various media advance the stories of a galaxy far, far away that we know and love. So I have to say that the gaming situation and the storytelling situation don't always line up. For example, I don't think you're going to be looking for new elements of canon storytelling in Star Wars Pinball. You know, that's just for pure entertainment value. Same thing goes for Lego Star Wars video games like the Skywalker Saga one. And I feel like that almost goes back to what they said about Lego canon, as it were. This is a few years ago, where basically the notion of talking about Lego and about adaptations to stories and whatnot, that basically it exists sort of side by side with the Star Wars universe. So like it is its own thing entirely. It's just tongue-in-cheek and spoofy and is not meant to be considered canon. So if new elements of storytelling are introduced, you don't necessarily consider them quote-unquote official if it's been in a Lego storytelling thing. But the review process for it is much the same as it is for actual canon storytelling elements, like novels, say, for example, or movies or live action series, where they look at it to make sure that they're not contradicting anything that exists within the current canon. And as long as that's not happening, then Lego can pretty much do what it wants. That being said, they do get to introduce ideas about new things from time to time. Like, for example, the Force Awakens Lego Star Wars video game actually has a mission for Han Solo and Chewbacca capturing the Rathtars. So it's the mission that happens off screen prior to when they capture Rey and Finn and BB-8 with the Eravana. But just because a particular game doesn't advance storytelling directly, that doesn't mean that it's not going to bear on future Star Wars storytelling. For example, the game Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which is a mobile game, you just have characters in the game basically, and for the most part there's not much actual storytelling happening. There is a bit here and there, but the Scarif Rebel Pathfinder was a character that you could acquire and unlock in the game, and that character was released in the game months before the release of Rogue One in theaters, so it was a little bit of a tie-in and a little bit of a preview, and finding out that these were Pathfinders, which is the special forces kind of folks within the rebellion, was an exciting little tidbit of information that was given through the game prior to the release of Rogue One. Then, of course, there was also in Fortnite, the multiplayer online combat game. They had a deal in there where they did a crossover with Star Wars, and Emperor Palpatine's broadcast to the galaxy that is referenced in the opening crawl of The Rise of Skywalker, well, you could actually hear that broadcast in Fortnite. And those are just a couple of examples, and that means that from time to time I'm going to check in on those non-storytelling games, and if they have new interesting things to tell us about characters and stories and so forth, then we'll talk about them here on the show. So that means that there's possibly a lot more fun stuff to come with the whole Lucasfilm Games thing, the big announcement. And wouldn't you know it too, just as a final postscript, the day after I record that episode, the day that episode comes out where we talk about Lucasfilm Games, and does that mean, anything's changing in the immediate future? And it's kind of like, not so much. Of course, there's an announcement for an Indiana Jones game coming. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And also, well, gee whiz, I guess there is actually going to be new news coming, and more quickly than we might have imagined, which is pretty exciting in its own right too. So, all right, that is going to do it for the episode of the show today here. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.